we've been working through this book online. Laurie has what's called
a journey,
Sex and Happiness Journey, where you take the book and you actually begin to integrate it into your life and turn it into practices. And really the practices that Laurie and I follow on a daily basis. And that's really what Sex and Happiness is. And so Law 6 is called Set Your Boundaries. And I'm going to read this quote again. And I'd like you to really listen to what is being said here, because boundaries are part of the things that I think really people, number one, they oftentimes don't realize that a boundary was crossed, and then it sets them off. It's a trigger.
They don't know what their boundaries are. They don't know how to set them. I think boundaries is the hardest thing for people.
Yeah, and it can also cause a lot of resentment and resistance inside the relationship, especially if you're not really clear on your boundaries and don't know how to express them. So let me read this again, this quote by Robert Burney. The purpose of having boundaries is to protect and take care of ourselves. We need to be able to tell other people when they're acting in ways that are not acceptable to us. A first step is starting to know that we have a right to protect and defend ourselves. That we have not only the right, but the duty to take responsibility for how we allow others to treat us. Robert Burney. One of the...
Oh, wait, I just want to say something.
Yeah.
This is a sneak peek. I'm soon going to do a Sex and Happiness over 60 journey.
Right.
Like where I'm going to do... I'm writing a book, Sex and Happiness over 60. It only gets better. And I decided that I'm going to do a journey to see if the points in the book are spot on. So I'm going to offer a journey soon. I'm probably going to open it to people over 50. But that's it. So if you're not over 50...
Oh, I get to go.
You get to go.
I get to go.
If you're not over 50, you will be excluded. It's so funny because people don't get... usually people over 50 are excluded from things. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about in the book. But anyway... We're on boundaries today. I'm not going to go on a soapbox about ageism.
Yeah. That's a soapbox we could actually get on. Welcome, Groovy Drooby and Careza. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, they said it was better. Careza says that the sound is better, and so does Groovy Drooby.
Is it still doing the... what's the word I want to use? Is it still buffering, or is it actually getting through now? That's the question I have.
Well, maybe somebody will tell us.
Yeah. Hope so.
It's funny, Groovy Drooby is like this person who was someone hippie a few weeks ago. The hippie person that was really hiding, the creator of The Love Writer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we're attracting all kinds.
Yeah. Caressa, I feel you should write to me if you want the information on how to get any of those products.
Oh yeah.
I want to follow up with you, and like things get crazy in my calendar and in my head. So please write me and tell me if you want the contact information for any of the things that we mentioned on that show.
Yeah.
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 All right. So boundaries. Dun dun dun. Boundaries.
Boundaries. Well, so let's talk a little bit about, I think the thing that often happens in a relationship over time. So I mean, you've heard it said that what is it? Familiarity breeds contempt, right? Being familiar with someone and inside of a relationship, that's what happens. Is this familiarity thing starts to happen. And when that happens, oftentimes, it's almost like as if we just don't have any boundaries anymore. And there's something you said to me last night or this morning even was, oh, I think I have a boundary I just discovered. It's like, okay, we need to talk about that.
Well, it's about the thing we talked about when we opened the show.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now. And when I'm relaxing in a certain time, like, I don't want to hear about it.
Right.
And you have the habit of just putting on the videos, like, boom.
So I don't ask for, I don't, not that I need permission, but I don't ask her, is it okay if I watch this video, or do you want me to put headphones on or something like that? So I should put headphones on so that she doesn't have to hear it. I like to watch the news. I like to be informed. I like to understand what's happening.
Yeah, but all in due time.
But she doesn't oftentimes want to hear that. And so that's a boundary.
Okay, and let's say why.
Say why.
I don't want my cortisol levels to go jumping up, and I don't want to be living in fear.
Okay.
I don't. And I have a boundary about that. I have a boundary about... it's like watching horror movies. I don't like watching horror movies. And right now, the United States feels like a horror movie. I'm not kidding. Like, being in the United States right now feels like being in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I have the right to let that information in at my pace, not just when. They're saying sound is great. Great.
Good,
okay.
Good.
I have a right to let that horror in on the time when I want it in. I don't have to have it in just because, like, all of a sudden you need a cortisol hit or something.
Okay, well, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So,
should we show people how to do a clearing about boundaries?
We should, and I think it's important to note that what you just said could almost be considered a projection. Like you said, I need a cortisol.
Yeah, I don't know. That was sarcasm. I apologize.
That's an interpretation I don't really agree with. And what I would say to that is that although I like to stay informed, I like to know what's going on. I know I'm going to get a cortisol hit. It's going to include some adrenaline. I'm going to get charged up by it. In fact, Chrissy and I were talking about this just a minute ago, where she went into the line and some guy was like just sitting there, or somebody was just sitting there and wouldn't move, and they were done and they were just sitting there.
The line of what? What are you talking about?
In a line and picking up some coffee or something.
Oh. And the guy didn't move out of like from Starbucks?
And she's like, and I could talk about this for... And it's like, yeah, that's because you're getting cortisol and you're getting adrenaline, and adrenaline will feed that. Well, for me...
Yeah.
My purpose for it is to know what's going on and to have some level of awareness of the craziness that's going on. And I'm okay with that.
Fine. Can you keep it from me, though?
This is the perfect time for us to do this. So,
all right, let's show people how to do a clearing. We're going to make a bubble, and we're going to do a clearing. And this is in real time.
This is a real subject.
This is real, and we didn't talk about this yet. So, here we go. Okay, great. I have something to clear with you.
Okay.
Last night we were sitting by the fireplace and relaxing. You didn't invite me down there, but you often invite me down there. So I felt like I was invited, and we were sitting silently watching the fire. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing I knew is you put a video on of people storming the Capitol and lots of tumult, we'll call it. And you showed it to me, and I said to you, okay, I don't really want to watch this. And then you got really into it. You watched another one, and it was loud. And I just went, okay, I'll see you. And I walked away. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that isn't what I wanted to do. That isn't a time that I wanted to hear that stuff. And so I walked away, and I wasn't mad, but I was really uncomfortable. Okay. And so I had to take care of myself, which I'm sure you knew. Mm-hmm. But it has ramifications. Like, I didn't feel like that was agreed upon. Like, we were going to watch the tumult and the craziness in this country at, whatever it was, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a boundary. My boundary is, if you're going to just put that on, I'd like you to ask me if I want to stay for it or if I'd like to go for it, because I have the right to say I don't want to see that right now. Okay.
I can honor that boundary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't sleep well. So, and the ramifications of it are...
I was just about to say thank you. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for saying thank you. Is there anything else? And the ramifications of that are, I didn't say goodnight to you. Mm-hmm. And also,
was that on purpose? Like you didn't say goodnight to me?
No, I mean, I just walked away, but you didn't come in and say goodnight to me either.
Okay.
And then I woke in the middle of the night, and I had fear.
Mm.
And I wasn't able to get back to sleep for about an hour. Now, the country is causing the fear. You're not causing the fear. But I have a right to navigate things that cause me fear. I don't want to see those things in the night. I don't want to see those things before I go to sleep.
Okay. I got that.
Okay?
I got that.
So I was up and I didn't feel good about it last night. So you need to know that.
So I got your boundary.
Thank
your boundary is that if I'm going to watch something that could be upsetting,
to give me fair warning.
Let you know. Mm-hmm. There's some other things here that I think we probably need to unpack, and I'd like to do that.
Okay.
But for that, I will honor that boundary. I'll give you fair warning.
Thank you.
But you mentioned a few things here, so I'm going to bring them up.
Cortisol.
One of them was that I went down to the fire, and I didn't invite you, and you stated it like that. Do you feel upset with me because I didn't invite you to the fire?
Oh no, I put that as part of the. Like I came into your space.
Right.
But I think it's an open invitation.
Of course.
So I didn't know. So there's nothing about that.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I'm complaining that you did something during a time that you chose to do something for yourself that I came into. So I might be, someone might look from the outside and go, well, who are you? He didn't invite you into that space. He could do anything he wants in that space. So, but I think it's an open invitation that I can come. It's down to the fire pit anytime I want.
It's your fire pit, yeah.
It's my fire pit.
It's your fucking fire pit, yes.
And but if I'm there and we're spending time together, I'm not watching videos of people storming the Capitol.
Got it. I got it. Okay, so I wanted to ask that question.
So that's my boundary. I have a boundary about that. I could choose whether to watch it or not. And if you're going to just put it on, I want fair warning because I'd like to walk away.
Okay.
I don't feel like having my night's sleep compromised.
Yeah, and I think at some point, so here's the thing. Okay. Yeah. I get that you have a boundary, but I also think that you withheld your truth in the moment. So I would say to you that if that happens,
yeah,
just like we set it up where you could raise your hand and go, I need your attention. I need you to come back to me. Or something like that. Mm-hmm. We can still use that for this kind of thing. And by the way, we teach this in our class, Extraordinary Lovers.
Yeah, we're doing this real time because this happened last night.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't happen a year ago because the Capitol was only stormed a day.
It was last night, yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing here is that you didn't actually speak your truth in the moment. And you got upset, and then you walked away. And I could tell you were upset. And obviously the boundary was crossed, and I have a request. The reason I'm saying this is because I have a request.
What's the request?
Rather than having an upset and not being able to sleep at night, I would like you to share with me that your boundary is being crossed, and then state what it is you want, not what you don't want.
Okay.
Because stating what you don't want
gets more of what you don't want.
Was what you got, right? Mm-hmm. No closeness, no connection, no good night, dear. I didn't even notice, and I apologize for that. I didn't notice that you didn't say good night. That's a significant thing.
I know. I just said I'm getting up.
Right.
And I walked away.
Right.
And I walked away in a huff. I was just like, what the fuck?
You were upset. I would rather you have said in the moment, hey, this is upsetting to me. And then share with me what you want.
I said, I don't want to watch this. And then you put on another one.
I don't remember it that way. But okay. Okay. I don't remember it that way, but okay.
Okay.
So I'm sorry I crossed your boundary. I'm sorry that I hit your boundary. I'm sorry that I caused you to go off in a huff. And I would ask you to, the next time this happens, because it will likely happen, that you just state your boundary. This is my request, that you state your boundary, and then tell me what you want.
Okay.
Like, I want to spend time with you. I don't want to do that. I want to spend time with you. Can we talk about something else? Whatever that is. I'm flexible. I'd like you to relate to me like I'm flexible.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. And I am sorry. I'm sorry that you had terrible sleep and that you woke up in fear. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And you're not the person creating the fear, but you're letting that into my environment. Actually, a little bit pushing that into my environment, I assert.
How do you mean?
Because it just goes on. It's like you just click your phone and it goes on.
Okay.
Like we were having a very lovely evening, and all of a sudden, click, and people were storming the Capitol.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I got a notification. So you get notifications on your phone, right? Little notification.
Mine don't make any noise.
Mine does. And mine said, "Oh, this is going on." And I clicked it and it came on. So maybe I can ignore my notifications a little more. That would be
That's up to you.
Yeah, well, it is up to me, but that would be something that I think maybe would be helpful. But again, like you're asserting, I'm pushing it on you. This is
all right, but I feel like here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, who owns you, you or your phone?
That's a good question. I'd like to ask you the same one.
I don't have notifications on.
Right.
It doesn't tell me when to look at it.
Okay.
This is happening. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. No.
Your phone does that to you.
No, it doesn't. Because I don't. When I'm working or I'm doing something, I don't get those little buzzy things.
Oh, okay.
Or those. I've turned those off so that I can be the ruler of my domain.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. I'm looking for the subtleties in what she's actually saying here. You're the ruler of your domain.
I'm the ruler of my domain.
Well, I get that. And some of those notifications I do want.
Okay.
So in that sense, I am the ruler of my
domain.
domain.
Can you sort them?
I can do whatever I want with them.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to be managed that way. I don't want to be managed by you that way.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me not to cross a boundary. I can do that.
Okay, good.
But the rest of this, that's my world. Like, I'm sovereign.
Got it.
So I like having those notifications. I like checking my phone from time to time. I'm not run by my phone. That's not a characteristic I'll accept from you.
Okay.
And I love you, and I don't want you to feel like you're in fear, and I don't want to impose anything that I'm personally looking at so that it impacts you negatively. I don't want that.
Thank
What I
you.
do want is for you to feel loved and appreciated and adored.
That's wonderful.
That's what I want.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Do you feel any of those things right now?
I do.
Good. Good. So that's how you go through solving something like this.
Wait, we break the bubble.
Oh, we have to break the bubble. Well, before we break the bubble,
What?
Can I smooch you?
Yeah.
Can I? I love you.
I love you too.
Okay.
Anyway, that's how you clear something when it's big and you want to clear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, whoever said that.
Let's see here. Yeah, that was Chrissy. Chrissy said, this is really interesting and great to see this in real time and get a look in. Wow.
Yeah. That is how we deal with things.
That's how we do it. This is how we do it.
If you had any question that we don't live the book, Sex and Happiness, let that question go right out of your mind.
Yeah, and I want to highlight a couple of things that happened here. First of all, when you do something like you noticed we made a bubble, the bubble allows us to stop the rest of the world from being influenced or influencing us.
Yeah, like we made you all go away for a
Right.
little while because we had to communicate.
Mm-hmm. That's the purpose of the bubble. It takes us out of what's going on out here and allows us to just interact individually. The other thing that we are also careful of is making sure that we're using nonviolent communication, hearing what the other person is saying without feeling attacked. That's one side of it, and then the other side of it is using language that doesn't attack. So, and then also it's okay.
We don't use the words always and never. You never da 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 da. You always do this.
I call that the always never fight.
We never and always. We never use those words because they're very triggering to someone, and they're used to pigeonhole somebody, like to push them right up against the wall.
Yeah. And it's a difficult place to be in because then you actually have to fight. You have to fight your way.
You have to fight your way back out of the corner.
I'm in the corner. What the fuck, you know? So it's establishing a boundary and getting clear on what your boundary is. And Laurie had some time to think about what that was.
Yeah, I was up last night.
Yeah, and she also, well, that's good. It's part of the process. And it's also good to know that there is a way back if you'll just be committed to returning to love. So I mean, we could fight this out like I did or I didn't do any of those things. Whatever she said I did, in her perspective, is her truth. And I can be okay with that. I can say, yeah, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry I did that. The interesting thing about saying I'm sorry, and this is important, this is part of it, is when you say you're sorry, you got to make sure that you're taking responsibility for what's yours and not for what's not yours. So how I do it is I just simply say, if her feelings were hurt and I did or said something that hurt her feelings, I never say, well, I'm sorry if your feelings got hurt.
The if is that's the operative word. Never use that
word, if. That's such bullshit. Right? If is the bullshit word. If I wrecked your car and I came to you and I said, hey, I'm really sorry if I wrecked your car. Bullshit.
No, you either wrecked my car or you didn't.
You know, you wrecked my car. Fucking apologize for wrecking my car. The same thing is true if you hurt someone's feelings. Or if their feelings got hurt and it was inadvertent. You didn't mean to hurt their feelings. It doesn't matter what you meant to do. The fact is their feelings got hurt and you were the source of it.
Well, I'm really the source of my own feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But if some action that you took was the thing that, you know, the occasion over which I got hurt, then apologizing for that makes it easier to surrender, let go of the angst, and just come back to love.
It actually settles the nervous system. It diffuses and the other word, it de-escalates the nervous system. Because the nervous system is triggered, the hurt has happened, and the best way to really move past that and actually address it and deal with it and then move past it is to just say, I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I triggered you. Could you say that? Could you say, I'm sorry I triggered you?
I could say it.
I can say that.
Well, I baited you by being sarcastic.
Aha.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I forgive you.
Thank you.
There's another piece to it, forgiveness. Now, this is all just simple, easy stuff to do, but how often do we do it?
Well, you and I do it often because we are very aware and we're both very highly educated in communication. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't do it. They don't even know. Come on, we have people who want to be clients of ours. We hear from them all the time, and they trigger the hell out of each other. And then they look at us and they go, will you take us on as clients? I don't think I did anything wrong. Right. And you're like, well, we look at each other and we go, well, you didn't do anything wrong, but you want to relate to another person? Like if you're just in your own little sandbox, yep, playing by yourself with your shovel and your pail, who cares? But when you want to be in relating in relationship and relating to somebody else, you have to take so much into account. There's a whole, what you said, Caressa, there's two different perspectives. There's two different worlds out there. And yes, standing up to the truth is hard for people because they're afraid of losing love. But the truth is, if they don't stand up, then the love goes anyway.
That's right.
Like, if I don't tell you what is my boundary, if I don't tell you what's my boundary, and if I don't speak my truth, then eventually I'm going to start to withdraw. I'm going to go numb. I'm not going to feel anything for you anymore. So if I don't stand up to my truth, then who am I? Who are you in love with? Who did you want to be with? Oh, I'm not that anymore because I'm not speaking my truth. Like, that's what you call getting diluted.
Diluted.
In a relationship because you're not being you anymore.
That's right.
You don't get in a relationship to not be you. That's ridiculous. Relationship is not important than you. You are just as important, and you, whoever you are, what you bring to the relationship is who the person fell in love with, not you.
Not the soft, appeasing, resentful, pissed off, moody. That's not the person that you want to be. That's not who you want to be. And if your boundaries are not being honored and you're not honoring other people's boundaries, mostly because you're not speaking your boundaries or your truth, then that's what's happening. You dilute yourself and allow yourself to then say, well, I guess I don't want to spend any more time with you. That's
I'm done.
Resentment.
I've had it.
Seeps right in.
Done.
It creeps in like through the cracks. Resentment. I have a boundary and they just keep stepping all over me like I'm some kind of a doormat. Have you heard that kind of language before?
Yeah.
Well, what's happening is that person, that person are no longer really in connection to your boundaries or your sovereignty. You've diluted yourself and allowed yourself to just take it. Well, stop taking it. Okay? And there are ways that you can express your boundaries, which is what Laurie did today. There are ways you can express your boundaries and get what you need and get what you need. Get what you deserve. Yeah. Right? The kind of respect you deserve. Yeah. Respect my system. My nervous system gets jolted. Her nervous system gets jolted every time she hears something like that or sees something like that. Well, that's not what I want for her. I want her nervous system to be healthy and able to take on, the stuff that matters to her, not to be jolted by the craziness of our country. So,
I mean, I am jolted by that, but I prefer to be jolted by that in the daylight hours.
Sure.
I prefer to be jolted by that when I can say something about it, or when I want to say something about it, or I want to have a conversation about it, but I don't want to have that in the evening when I'm having a glass of wine sitting by the fire. That's just not when I want to do it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you want to do when that's happening? When you're by the fire with a glass of wine?
I want to just be cuddling and maybe not speaking. I want to have a quiet, peaceful time. Feeling the beauty of the abundance of what surrounds us.
Can we set a date and have a do-over tonight?
Possibly. It depends on if they let you burn today in Arizona.
I think it's a burn day.
Okay.
It's a burn day.
We live in a state. We live in Arizona.
Maricopa has burn days.
Our county has days that you can't burn. That means you can't have an outdoor fire because there's like smog in our valley or something.
Right.
We live in a valley, and so there's smog in it. It's like the valley, the San Fernando Valley.
It's called the Valley of the Sun, and it's a fairly large valley, but it's.
We have smog, and so they tell you when there's days when you can't have a fire.
Right.
They don't even want you to have an indoor fire. They don't want the smoke going into.
You know what's really strange is that if you go and this is just an aside, if you go and you look at the Maricopa County Burn Day website, you can burn Duraflame logs.
Yeah, which are chemicals.
You can't burn real wood. But
It makes no sense.
It's a chemical. Like, chemicals are cleaner than actual wood. It's like, okay.
Whatever.
Anyway, whatever. Yeah. So
we don't use Duraflame. We have real
yes, wood. Yes. Chrissy and I were just talking about this. Yeah, totally. The idea of us being in our own worlds and working through these kinds of things. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, how does this is something we talked about on Tuesday. How does honoring another person's boundaries create intimacy?
It does, because if I honor your boundaries, which I did in the very beginning, you gave boundaries first. That means that you didn't feel manipulated. You felt like I honored you, so you trusted me. Mm-hmm. And I need the same thing. I need to feel like my boundaries are honored for trust. So trust creates intimacy and safety. And when someone gives their boundary and we try to change their mind, yeah, you really want to do it. Come on. That can't be your boundary. Oh, come on. Oh, please.
Yeah.
When you do that, when whoever does that to someone and doesn't just take them at their word, at their boundary, then you are risking that they're not going to want to have that much to do with you. They're going to need to defend themselves. People's boundaries are really important.
Yeah.
I had a in the 70s, I had a business partner in Boston named Marcia. And she said to me, when we go into business together, there's one thing you need to know about me. Never come late. Now, at that time, I was kind of like, sometimes, I usually came fashionably late. I wasn't like a really late person, but sometimes I would arrive 15 minutes late. To a party, I could come an hour late or whatever. I don't care. Parties don't feel like hard boundaries to me. But she just said to me, if we're going to be successful being in business together, I need you to come to every meeting that we have and everything on time. And I thank her for that. She taught me that before Landmark. She just said, if you honor me and you want my trust and you want my best work, you need to come to everything we agree to on time. And I just went, I can do that. And then I did it. It wasn't even like a stretch for me. It was like, this woman freaks out. She said to me, here's how I feel when I'm waiting. She said, I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. She said, then I doubt myself. Did I make a plan for today? Was it today? Did I get it wrong? I need to check my calendar.
Right.
We didn't have cell phones then. This was the 70s. You can't call somebody or text them and say, I'm running 5 minutes late.
Right.
So she would go into the twilight zone and start freaking out. And she told me that, and I said to her, well, I don't want you to do that. So I came to everything we ever planned on time. And you know what? That was easy.
Yeah.
That is easy. For all of you people out there who are late folks, it's easy to come on time.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm preparing our...
Okay.
Go ahead.
I see that Careza says, it's important to honor when a person says no and be okay with it. Yes, no is a complete sentence.
Yep.
It doesn't need explaining. I never knew that before either. I used to say no because, and now I don't. I just go no. Nope. I don't want to do it. No. And that's all. And I want that to be honored. So thanks for bringing that up. Careza, yes.
That's absolutely
honoring
true.
your partner's no is really important.
What are some of the boundaries? I'm just curious. What are some of the boundaries that you find getting crossed that you don't speak up about? Maybe it's with a partner, maybe a love interest partner or a business partner. What are some of those boundaries? If you go ahead and put it in the chat, we'll talk about those as well.
Well, mine are mostly around time, interestingly enough, about people being late. Yes, yes, yes. Me too. I hate that.
Don't be late.
Mine are also about, what are you saying?
Don't be late with her.
Don't be late with me ever.
Ever.
The other thing is when I'm sharing the stage with someone, I've had people that I was co-teaching with, their their module was an hour, and they went for 2.5 hours. And then the other two people who are co-facilitating with them don't get to speak because this person like hogged the stage. That's a terrible thing. You can't, like, when we're weaving, when 2 facilitators or 3 facilitators are weaving with each other, somebody has to know when to shut up.
Right.
And turn it over. You know, the other facilitator, it's your time now. And timekeeping is really important. Now, at Landmark, they have someone in the back of the room keeping time.
Right.
They have somebody holding up a sign that says, 15 minutes.
I was that guy, actually.
That means 15 minutes left. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, wrap up.
Yep.
And so we don't have that in the spaces that we're in these days. So we have a big old clock in front of us. And the clock tells us, okay, it's time for you to stop talking.
Right. And that's an important part of just getting to know how you like to be approached or how you like to be interacted with inside of a facilitating, as a facilitator. So I think one of the things that you really are good at is saying, get to the point.
Oh, yeah, I hate that too.
Run-on sentences drive me crazy. People that continue to say something and. It's like and is the word that connects all of your thoughts together, but you didn't make a point.
Well, I recently said to somebody that I love very much, by the time you finish, I have no idea what your point was. Like, you just went all over the globe with examples, and then I'm going like, by the 4th example, I'm like, what was the point here?
Right.
What was the point this person was making?
Yeah.
So that also drives me crazy when people don't make their point.
Well, let's talk about...
I feel like that's very masculine. I learned that in the corporate world. I remember the company president going, this meant bottom line it. What does it mean? Get to your point. So I mean, I have some room for flow. I do.
Yeah. But
I just lose the point if somebody goes on and on.
Well, and I want to tie this back to the boundary. So it sounds to me like the boundary, one of your boundaries is that people get to the point, they're concise and clear about it, and they don't run on and they don't take up all the time.
Ask me if I understood. Don't give me 5 examples because you think I'm your kids.
Right.
Maybe I got it the first time you said it. I don't need it. If I need an example, I could say, can you give me an example? I'm not clear about what you mean. What your point is, can you give me an example?
Right. Well, here's the other part of this. So when it comes to boundaries and how to express your boundaries, one of the things you're going to need to do is make requests. Like there needs to be a request made after you've expressed your boundary.
Right.
We'll take you through this system a little bit, but we're going to do it step by step here. So the first thing that you got to see early on here was Laurie and I talking about boundaries, and then actually Laurie expressing a boundary that she had. And then she made a request inside of that. She said, look, what I want is, when we're doing something like this, is to spend time together doing it this way. I want to be cuddled. I just want to be held. We don't need to talk. We can just sit and watch the fire. I don't want you on the phone, looking at anything really. I want us to have spend time together.
But in particular, not violence or.
So the request was that, here's what I want. And we have what is it? We have the tendency to go after what we don't want. Here's what I don't want. Here's what I don't want. It's all the make wrong that we do to each other. And in the make wrong, it starts to build this barrier instead of a boundary. And boundaries, as you explain it, are like 1 cell thick walls that keep toxins out and let nutrients in. It's there to protect you. Just like I said.
I'm kissing Caressa. I don't like when the partner brings the mobile phone in bed. You get the bell today for that. I don't either.
Me either. I don't do that.
You bring it in the room, though, and then it goes off. It hasn't lately. I appreciate you for changing it. It used to have a rooster. He has a rooster.
That wakes me up at like 5 a.m.
So I don't like that either.
But we sleep in separate rooms, so that's...
So anyway. I don't want the mobile phone brought into my bed. You are right. You get the prize for today. Yes.
So we're talking about boundaries, how they create intimacy. Creating boundaries really does create intimacy. That's a great boundary. So you could actually say that to your partner. Hey, listen, I have a boundary about bringing the mobile phone into the bed. And what I'd like you to do is plug it in somewhere and leave it there. Because when we're together sleeping or not sleeping, I want your full attention. I want to be with you, not with you and your phone, right? That's one way that you can say, here's my boundary and here's my request. And then the other person, I want to speak to you, the other person who you just found out about that person's boundary and you got the request, you got a choice here. You can negotiate the request. You can get clear on the boundary. There's lots of things that you can do. But if the boundary is like, look, this is something that really bothers me, okay, I got it. And you can agree to not do it anymore, which I recommend. And then also go to the I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that I did that. Not if I did that, but that I did that.
Yeah, and you can also say, I'm sorry that I did that and I didn't know that was a boundary that you had.
Right.
You can say that.
Sure.
Most of the time we find people's boundaries because we trip over them and they're little landmines waiting to explode.
Some people don't look at boundaries the way that we look at boundaries. They look at boundaries as an offense, like an all-out attack on their sovereignty.
No. Boundaries are permeable membranes that keep out toxins and let in nutrients. It's just like being an amoeba and keeping out what I don't want and letting in what I do want. And that's what boundaries are. And they serve us, and we all have them.
That's right.
And we all have preferences, and we all have these little places that we don't, that everybody calls this thing like scratching nails on a chalkboard. So everyone has those, and it's not, anybody's fault. Those are just things that you don't like, and you can have that. Yeah. You're an individual. You're sovereign. You can have those things that you don't like. Yeah. I don't like white shoes. I never liked white shoes. They were a fad when I was growing up. Yeah. I never liked white shoes except tennies.
Well,
I like tennis
that's the only kind of white shoes I ever owned.
There were times when men wore white loafers.
White loafers?
And they were white shoes. Women wear white 70s. Shoes.
That was
Women
in the 70s.
Wear white shoes. No, it was earlier. It was
in the 70s where they had the collars 60s. That went from here to here.
And they wore white shoes.
And they wore white shoes. And beige. They were wearing beige a lot.
Beige, what were they called?
Suits.
Leisure
suits. Beige. We have a boundary.
I have a boundary about
beige
leisure
suits and white loafers. Don't do it.
Yeah. No, in the 70s, they had platform shoes. Men wore platform shoes and women wore platform shoes.
Hilarious.
It was. That's what people wore.
That's hilarious.
They wore. If you watch Night Fever, Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta,
right.
He had heels on those shoes when he was singing Night Fever, Night Fever. He had little heels on those shoes.
He did. Yeah.
Men wore high heels then. It was hysterical.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's move a little bit further into how to make our boundaries really create some intimacy. And it's a concept that I use where it's about honoring boundaries. So when you honor, like for instance, when Laurie and I got together, she says this all the time, I was the first to set boundaries. And one of the boundaries was that I don't sleep over. If we have sex together, or she comes over to my place and we have sex together, that we don't stay over each other's house. And I had that in place for a couple of really important reasons to me. One, I need my sleep. Two, I cannot sleep at all if there's someone else in the bed. I just can't do it. And so I set that boundary really for my health reasons. But the other reason is because I want to make sure that I'm keeping my my own pheromones in my own bed. And you doing the same. And so those couple of reasons were the reasons that I set the boundary. And she didn't try to stay over all the time. She didn't try to come over and stay. She understood that, and she honored that boundary. Well, here's what happens when someone doesn't honor your boundary. I'm sure you've all experienced this. Somebody, you either found out about the boundary and then stated the boundary to that person, and they're like, oh, come on, they gaslight you. Really, that's that big a deal to you? Yeah, it's that big a deal to me. Are you going to honor my boundary or not? Because what happens when people don't honor your boundary, it's like you say no. The first no, that's my boundary. No. The second time they cross your boundary, it's like, no. The tone changes. The third time, you're like, no. You're very aggressive. But the fourth time they cross that boundary, you are a fuck no, stay out of my life. That's what happens when boundaries are not honored. The reverse is true. When boundaries are honored, you can then loosen your boundaries, actually. And over time, because Laurie really did honor my boundary here, one day I said, hey, would it be okay if I stayed the night? And she looked at me.
I thought, what happened here?
Yeah. We got a new follower.
Yay, that's Karen.
Yes. Welcome,
Yay.
Karen. So when she honored my boundary, I was able to loosen that boundary, and I asked her if I could stay the night, and we had it was beautiful. I didn't sleep. I never do. But it was okay because I chose that I wanted to stay, and it was a beautiful, beautiful evening. And since then, that boundary it still exists. I sleep in my space. Laurie sleeps in her space, and then from time to time we'll sleep together. But that's what I mean. The reverse is true. If someone honors your boundary and they honor it consistently, you start to see your boundary not be so necessary. So boundaries are necessary until they're not. And that's what Laurie means by they're permeable.
Yeah, they're permeable, like that you can change them for no reason.
Yeah.
You can just decide you don't have that boundary anymore. Or you can put up a boundary that you didn't have before. Boundaries but they're very permeable. They're changeable, and they are personal. So you decide what your boundaries are, and you decide when you're putting them up, and you decide if you want to change them. And the other people in your life don't get to choose about it. They really don't. Like the thing with me and time is time. And you could say I have a racket about time, but yep. You could also say, I like to come on time, based on the story I told you earlier.
Right.
My business partner back in Boston, she just said, I didn't want her to feel like she was in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And
that created a new bond. That honoring her boundary created a new bond for you. I'm just assuming it also deepened your trust with each other.
It did.
Can you see how boundaries can really, really solidify your relating? And there's something else that I gave when you get a chance, go back and watch the way we interacted, and hopefully, our problem with the mic was fixed at that point. But what you'll see is there was one point where I said, I'd like you to in the moment, I'd like you to speak your truth and request. I made a request of Laurie saying that in the moment next time, I'd like you to speak your truth, and I'd like you to really to share that, because I'd like you to relate to me as someone who's flexible. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So really, you can ask somebody, you can make a comment and say, look, I need you to relate to me in a certain way. Because we get into these relationships, and the relationships begin to determine how we relate to each other. Instead of relating directly with the human being, you're now relating to a relationship, which is kind of weird, So when we have these conversations...
I put so much in this relationship. I don't want it to end. It's more important than me. Right? No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
It's not.
We have dissolved our relationship from time to time because it's not working, and we actually have to create new agreements. And one of those agreements oftentimes are boundaries. These are new boundaries that I have. This is a new way I would like you to relate to me. I want you to relate. So I made that request, is my point. My point is I requested that you relate to me as someone who's flexible, and give me the benefit of the doubt that if I'm doing something that you don't like, rather than walking away upset, I would like you to say, hey, listen, I'm upset by what you did. State your boundary. And then let's see if we can return to love in the moment. Because I would have rather have spent the night with you, you know, hugging and holding you and watching the fire and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Really.
Okay, good.
Yeah, really. I really.
See, at that moment, I felt like you'd rather watch the storming of the Capitol.
Right, yeah. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. If you loved me, you would not watch the storming of the Capitol while we're at the fire pit.
Well, I do love you. And I'm a dumb man sometimes.
Got it. Thank you for saying.
By the way, men are dumb sometimes, and we do dumb things. So, forgive us.
Stay focused.
Right. So the intimacy part, I think, is...
Intimacy. Boundaries create intimacy because when they're honored, it allows the other person to feel like they can breathe. Yeah. Feel like there's spaciousness. If the boundaries aren't honored, then they feel like they're being manipulated, or they feel like they're being tricked, or they feel like they can't trust the other person. The other person's not gonna... The other person doesn't get them.
Right. Yeah. And the sense is that there's nothing I can do about this. Like, this is not something I can fix. And we talk about the 3 R's in our Extraordinary Lovers experience. The 3 R's are progressive, and they follow boundaries being like trampled on or being violated, I guess is a better word for it. We don't really trample boundaries. We just violate them. We move through them not really knowing that we did.
Hi, Angela.
Angela DeYoung, hello.
We haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, you fell for that distraction too.
Yeah.
It's hard. Listen, it's hard to not... I think you wrote on another thread today that I was on. And you said you couldn't take your... I think I saw what you wrote earlier. You said you couldn't take yourself away. You had to watch it.
Guilty.
Yeah, and it just... You just came on, so you didn't hear, but we were sitting by our fire pit, having a sweet, silent moment, just watching the fire with our arms around each other. And then he put on the video. And I was like... I left. I was mad. I was like, no, I have a boundary about that. So that's with the conversation all, yeah. Oh, got it. Okay, well, glad to know that you're here. I'm giving you kisses.
Welcome, Angela. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So boundaries are so important, and they're so important to honor. I don't know if we can say that, that's the thing. In my book, which Michael held up earlier, Sex and Happiness, I want you to know that boundaries was the hardest chapter for me.
It was.
It was so hard. It was like, I didn't get it because I didn't grow up with a family that had boundaries. My parents never sat down and straight talked and said, I have this boundary, I have this boundary. I can remember so much manipulation in my family. My father was a dentist. Here's an example. My father was a dentist. He would preach to us all the time about how we shouldn't eat sugar. Okay? But we had the soda delivery. We had, my mother used to stop at a certain baker. It was called Custom Bakers. It was in Island Park. I grew up in Oceanside, New York. Custom Bakers was in Island Park. And when we came back from the beach, we stopped at Custom Bakers. And my father, the dentist... My father would cut the cake, like the cake, we had a thing called special cake. It was a 1-layer, like vanilla cake with a fabulous chocolate topping.
Right.
And my father would cut the cake. He would cut a quarter, and you'd think that's what he was going to eat. No, he would cut the quarter, and he would take the whole rest, 3/4 of the cake, the dentist, and eat all that sugar. So that's just an example of like no boundaries at all. And,
wow.
So boundaries, and I think a lot of people who know me know this, that in my family, they used to just barge into my room whenever they wanted. So my room wasn't private. Where I slept wasn't private. I could have been touching myself, and they barged in.
Right.
So I put a bell, like a cling, clang, 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 like the kind you have on a boat or a ship, bang, 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 bang. I didn't have a triangle, but I had like one of these bells. So to come into my room, they'd have to ring the bell because I needed a boundary with my parents.
Wow.
You know? So boundaries was a really hard chapter for me because I didn't get them. I didn't get it. And then somebody had boundaries with me and I was like, oh, my hands are up. I'm guilty. You know, I didn't get that it was just like a normal part of life. Having a boundary like shut up, or having a boundary like what is your point? Having a boundary like no to horror movies. Yep. Having a boundary like no, you can't borrow my clothes. Whatever it is, like that's normal. It's okay to say no to things like that.
Well, I had heard about, this is so interesting that Carezza says this. I think people feel that having no boundaries gives you freedom, but the real freedom comes with boundaries.
Yes.
Carezza, you don't know how true that is. Like, you know how true that is, but people really need to know how true that is. There was a study done by psychologists where they took the fence away from an elementary school. The fence that was the boundary.
Oh yeah, this is so good.
Around the elementary school. They took it out. And then they proceeded with school. And the children would cluster together close to the buildings. They wouldn't go out and play in a large open space field almost, where they could play on anything, play with anything. They would stick together in these little clusters and play, but they would be close to the buildings or close to the swing sets or whatever was close to the building. They wouldn't go out into the rest of the field and kick the ball around or do any of that stuff. And what they found is that those boundaries, those are healthy boundaries. So boundaries are healthy. They really
they
are.
wouldn't play. They can't play unless they know what their turf is.
Right.
And when there's too much turf, it's too much.
And they're given freedom to be in that space. That's the cool thing.
Yeah.
Is that they had the freedom to be in the space when they put the fence back. Oh my gosh, they were running around the entire yard. They were utilizing all the space. They were interacting differently. They weren't so cliquish. It's amazing.
So I need to tell you something. Yeah. I just discovered that the plumber is on his way.
He is.
Yeah. And
there's a plumber on the way.
The plumber wasn't supposed to come for another hour,
This is IRL. This is happening IRL.
What's IRL? In real
life.
In real life, the plumber's coming. So if we hear a
ding dong.
Ding dong. I have to go for a minute.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I'm just letting you know.
I'll let you. I don't have a boundary with that.
It could happen in real life, right? While we're on our show.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
And do you want me to do it or do you want to?
No, I'll do it.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, he knows where to go. He's already been here.
All right. Well,
safety, yes. Safety. Boundaries provides. Now, look, here's the thing about safety. Safety is an inside job. Nobody can make you safe. Nobody can make me safe. Safety. What is this? The plumber's very sexy when you talk.
Jesus. Like laying some pipe.
This plumber is not at all sexy, but he's very smart. He fixed a lot of things already. Yeah. So, what was I saying? Something about
safety is
an inside job. Yeah. Nobody can make you safe. I mean, this world is a crazy place, and it's getting crazier, moment by moment. Like I thought it would be calming down. It's getting crazier, and you can't make me feel safe.
Oh.
You can create things that can scare me, and then I can feel scared. But I have to bring myself back to safety. I have to bring myself back to safety. Karen just subscribed. Yay.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen, thank you. I love you so much.
Thank
For
you
those
so
of you who
much.
don't know who Karen is, I'm going to tell you. Karen is the co-writer of Sex and Happiness, the book. I literally talked the book to her. We met every other weekend for a year or two, and I literally talked the laws of intimacy to Karen. And the reason is I read one of Karen's novels, and her novels sounded just like me and my friends. And I said, how did you know my life? And so I felt I could talk to her about anything. Yeah. And so I literally, so she took my words and put them down on paper. I audio taped. We were using these funny little audio tapes that we had back then. You know those little tape cassettes?
Oh yeah. So it's
old technology. Karen and me were.
I want to have a box of old technology.
I think I finally threw them out.
I want to have a box of old technology, and one of the things, this is just a rant, but one of the things that I want to have is a telephone that had the dial like this. You remember the dial where you had...
Yeah.
I want one of those.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
It's easy. You can go to Goodwill and get one.
I know. Well, you can get the ones with the push buttons, but...
No, you can probably still get a dial.
That's so
old
school.
There used to be a kind where you picked up the phone and you told the operator to dial the number. Oh, and it was a party line. There were other people on. We had that once.
Yeah.
I think we had that when I lived in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I mean, we would pick up the phone and somebody else might be on.
I remember this is so back in the day. I remember when I was in my 20s-ish, where you could dial into a line and it would be a party line and you would pay so much per minute for to be able to chat with a bunch of people, and it was like hanging out in a club or a dance, something like that. But it was by phone.
When I was in college, I had to ask the operator to dial long distance.
Okay.
Operator, I'd like to call New York. I have New York on the line.
when I was a kid, we moved into a new house.
Yeah.
And when we moved into the new house, the phone was one of those rotodialers,
right.
And we wanted a new phone, and so we got a new phone. And a man showed up with tools, and he went in and he disconnected the old phone, which was hardwired to the wall, and he took that phone and put it away and brought us a new phone with the push buttons, and he hardwired that.
See,
now everything
I knew
is
how to
click
do that. I knew how to do all that myself. I used to put all kinds of phones around.
Oh my gosh.
I knew how to hardwire those
so
things.
Great. Thank you so much for the subscription, Nina Motke. Nina Motke. I hope I said that right, but thank you so much for the subscription. Thank you,
Nina,
everybody
where
else.
are you? What part of the world are you in?
Yeah.
I know where some of these people are, but I don't know where you are. So let's find out where you are. It's great to have you. If I just so you know, if you just joined us, if I hear the doorbell, I have to go let the plumber in. Should we get the plumber on the show? Ask the plumber if the plumber knows anything about boundaries. That would be hysterical. Hi, we're doing a TV show. What do you know about boundaries?
What do you know about boundaries? Well, I know that if there's a dog in the backyard, I'm staying the fuck out. That's for sure. I'm not going in there.
So boundaries are really, really important. And without them, they're a key ingredient. That's why they're one of the tantric laws of intimacy. Because, Sweden, welcome.
Welcome.
Yes.
Love you.
I know that you, plumbing and electrical work are about the same, can be very sexy. Sweden, you haven't had much of a lockdown. I don't know if you do now, because I know that there are cases.
How are things in Sweden when it comes to the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, I know that things were very... one of my colleagues, Eugene lives in Sweden with Fia, and with his wife, Fia. Right. And he keeps calling me and saying things seem like normal there, like whatever the old normal was. And and now I heard that Sweden might be having a lockdown. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Well, as far as we know, Arizona, which is where we are, Phoenix, Arizona has the highest caseload per day. Many more cases are being reported in Arizona. I don't know
we don't know why.
I don't know the death to case ratio at this point. We don't know why, because we're pretty locked down. We're actually not. Bars are not open in the sense that you can just go party anywhere you want. Unlike Florida, where California and Arizona are the two right now that seem to be the highest. But Florida is staying pretty stable, and they're wide open. They're I don't know what they're doing.
It's like a big party there.
Now, I recently watched a video where a Dr. Corey, Kory, was in front of it was in front of Congress, and he was giving his
this
testimony.
is that new thing you found out about.
He was giving a testimony, and he was saying that 30 studies have been done in the last 9 months on the effectiveness of current drugs that we have on COVID. And one of the drugs that he said has been miraculous in stopping the spread.
You heard it here. You heard it here.
Stopping the spread of COVID.
Beep, 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 beep.
One of the things he said was miraculous in stopping the spread of COVID is ivermectin. Ivermectin is a worm thing that is used on horses and animals, pets, but it's also used for humans. And ivermectin,
if you have worms,
he said, is an antiviral, and it will stop you from getting COVID. And he cited a study that was recently done this month it was completed this month in Argentina, and I can put the link up if I can find it. But in Argentina, where they had 800 frontline workers, medical workers, that they gave ivermectin to, 0 got COVID. Another 400, which was their control group, were not given ivermectin.
Or the placebo group.
They were the placebo group. And 50% of them, 200, got COVID. So it appears that ivermectin, based on Dr. Corey's assessments, appear to be a very good way to stop you from getting COVID. So in the hopes that this will help you and perhaps save you from having to get the vaccine at this time.
And it will save you from worms.
Yeah, it will definitely clear up your worm issue if you got worms, but I hope it helps. And I'll find the link and I'll put it in here just shortly, but I wanted to share that with everybody.
Angela wrote that, talking about how the parts fit together, the male and female parts fit together like in electricity and plumbing. That's what she means. Angela, you need to know something about me. Michael's going to laugh, but Karin knows this about me. I don't get jokes. So I'm so literal. So thank you for telling me what you meant, because
she's like clueless.
Because sometimes sometimes I'm like, I have an airhead, and no one would ever think that of me. But you could be telling a joke, and I don't get it, and I'm sitting there, everybody else is laughing, and I don't get it. So thank you for explaining about the plumbing parts, and the electrical parts. Really, sometimes I'm just thick. Oh, Michael's gonna post that.
I found it.
The link right now.
Yes.
In case you want to see the thing about, what's the drug called again?
It's called ivermectin.
Ivermectin. Yeah. Yes, Angela, it is funny. Usually the joke is on me. Like, people look at me and I'm like sitting there, duh. And I don't get it. So. I didn't think I'd have to. Wait, he's giving you the.
No, go ahead, honey. Keep talking.
Okay, he's going to give you the link. All right, what else can we say about boundaries that we haven't already said?
Well, so
they're really important. If you don't think here's the thing. If you don't think you have any, I laugh. That's the joke. If you don't think you have any boundaries, how about if I lick your eyeball? That's just like, it's,
You have boundaries, trust me.
How about if I asked you to borrow $1,000? How about if I asked you to borrow $1 million? How about if I wanted to take out your car, use your car, and not put gas back in it?
How about this? How about, can I borrow your truck to move my house? Right? That kind of thing. Like, people.
You have boundaries. If you don't think you do, really look again. You have boundaries. You just may not have ever thought, wow, these are my boundaries. I have to say, no to things like this. And it's better to say no earlier in a relating than later in a relating.
That's true. Yeah.
Just want to say that. There's a lot of things. Why is that going so many times?
Oh, it's scrolling.
Oh.
We have a thing that's scrolling on the side. We can actually see what people are posting and writing in chat.
Okay.
So, this is so true. And I think one of the things that we probably want to step back and say is, How do you know your boundary has been violated?
When you feel anger, or when you feel like withdrawing.
Yeah. What are the clues, right?
Or when you feel in your body, like I'm giving you some like intellectual properties, but when you feel tight in your chest, constriction in your throat, or if you feel like your asshole just slammed shut, probably your boundary has been violated.
Right.
And yeah, you look in your body. If your arms go like this, all of a sudden you cross your arms when you were just like so loose. Yeah. Your boundary probably got violated. And you're protecting your heart.
Right. We talk about this a lot in Extraordinary Lovers Experience. And it's one of the key reasons that relationships fall apart. Like it is so insidious because, like Laurie said, all of these things you experience, you start to see this show up in the sense that, no, I don't want to go anywhere with you. Resentment sets in, resistance sets in. The resentment part, oftentimes, not speaking your truth and not producing or not expressing your boundary and then making the request, resentment will set in really easily. And you're in charge of this. Like you're the captain of your ship. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you gotta, these are some skills that I think will help you knowing in your body where you're feeling it, identify it and go, oh wow. And I've said this and Laurie was at the effect of it. I said, I think I just found a boundary. And I go, it's your tone. And she was like, tone? And I went, tone. Laurie has a tone. We all do.
Everyone has a tone.
But I discovered that I had a boundary around this tone, and so I questioned her about it. But when you feel like that in your body, rather than getting angry and just going into your default, whatever that default is, whatever you know it to be, what I'd like you to do going forward is to really acknowledge, wow, it looks like I got a boundary here, or I'm feeling this in my body. I wonder what that is. And if you're experiencing resentment because somebody is, what appears to be they're walking all over you, those are boundaries being crossed. If you feel resistance, where you feel like I don't want to be around this person anymore because they're constantly on my boundaries, or they're constantly, offending me, or whatever that is, that resistance also. Speak your truth. You need to talk about your boundaries. You need to be able to express them well and make requests. Now, what do you do if someone continues?
Oh, well, wait. Angela has one here. I think it's Angela saying, even though they don't make sense, it shouldn't matter, but it does. Like someone else's boundary doesn't make sense to you. Listen, here's the thing. Like it's their boundary. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's not yours. Right. So. If you feel to honor somebody, then you honor them, even if their boundary doesn't make... Do you think it made sense to me when Michael said he didn't want to spend the night with me? I've never had a lover before who said, if we have sex, by the way, I'm not coming. I'm not going to stay over your house. I'm going to leave at such a... He even asked me to kick him out.
I told her, I said, from time to time, I'll probably just want to stay, but I need you to
throw me out.
Help me to keep this boundary.
Really, Angela, that didn't make sense to me, but you know what? I honored it. Yeah. Because he asked for it, so I honored it. It was no big deal to me. So what? He didn't sleep over. I slept better anyway.
Truth be told.
I mean, the truth is, I sleep better without somebody in my bed, too.
Amen.
So... I know, but sometimes you need a little more explaining because sometimes it needs to make sense to you, but really it doesn't. If you really care that much about them, then just honor the boundary.
Yeah. Yeah, and remember, like we said, boundaries are required.
Permeable.
They're permeable, and they're needed until they're not. At some point, he may give up the boundary, she may give up the boundary a little bit, and or lessen it. And I still have that boundary. I still don't sleep over.
Most of the time.
And if I do, there's a request involved. Like, do you mind if I stay here with you tonight? And sometimes Laurie will say, no, why don't you go in your other room, and I really need to sleep. Thanks for the wonderful, amazing, incredible sex, but I need you to go in the other. She says that all the time.
Are you bragging?
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, it's just about honoring, that could be one of the most
That's
important.
That's right, Careza. Yes.
What you're saying, that could be one of the most important factors in relating.
I really agree with that. I really do. And it's not even an almost. This is the work of relating.
I can think of a couple times. I just want to say.
Go ahead.
I can think of a couple relationships I've had where I didn't like my partner's mother. And I had to have a boundary.
Yeah.
With how often she could visit. It's your mother. You go out with her.
I wonder if there's anybody listening today who has that.
Yeah. It was like at least two mothers, three I can think of in my life where I really didn't like this person's mother.
Yeah.
One of them was creepy.
Oof.
And I had to put a boundary on how often this person could be with us. Or how often I could be with this person. You go out with her, you do what you want with her, but I don't want her around me.
Yeah.
So I had one try to manipulate me, and like, no.
Yeah.
So that could be a boundary that somebody has in relating. I had my friend Jack.
Oh, okay.
Jack's no longer alive, but Jack was in my life. He was like somebody in my life. And I used to say to my new relationship whenever I was having it, you see this man? He comes with me. He's part of the package. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with him. And I'm sure there were probably some men in my life who felt like, how come she's got this guy? How come this guy is around her all the time?
Well, Jack was one of the loves of your life. In a different sense.
Yeah. Like we weren't like partners, but we had so much love between us.
He was a best friend.
Yeah. So, so that's a boundary. Sometimes friends are a boundary. Right now my sister's a boundary.
Right now your sister's a boundary.
You have a boundary with her, and you know what? I totally get it.
Right.
So you might have those kind of boundaries. You might have boundaries. You might have kids from a previous marriage, which you do. I don't. But I could have a boundary with your kids.
That's true.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
But there have been people that I've had a boundary with their kids.
Right.
There can be a lot of things.
This is such a big topic.
The one I used recently, which a lot of people don't think about, is if you're driving. There's the plumber.
There's the plumber.
Say
your thing.
That thought. If you're driving and you're driving too fast, I feel like I'm precious cargo, and I want you to slow down and drive with two hands on the wheel, not with your hands talking.
Well, I'll tell the rest of this because she'll be right back. So there was this one day where Laurie and I were driving, and I didn't know this was a boundary to her, but I'm driving with one hand on the wheel. I got my other hand, over here, and she looks at me and she goes, "Can you please put both hands on the wheel?" And I'm like, sure. And she goes, "I have a boundary." And I went, "What is it?" And she says, I don't feel safe. If you have one hand on the wheel, you need to have both hands on the wheel. So anytime Laurie and I are in the car together, I honor that boundary because it really makes her feel, unsafe to be driving around, and also driving too fast, like getting too close to other cars and things like that, which I don't do anyway. But she told me about this. She had a person in her life that was a hot dog speed racer kind of person and was always just hauling butt around and had one of those really fast cars that could do that. And that just, it's scary. First of all, but yeah, she's got a boundary around that as well. So she's back. Is the plumber working?
Yeah, the plumber's going to fix the tub, and
okay.
And he said it's not going to be long. So I gave him the boundary. I educated him. I said, knock on the door like this, very lightly. I said, because we're doing a live podcast.
We're in a live stream. Yeah.
So and you told about the fast driving.
Yeah.
I have friends who talk when they're driving. And I'm like, could you put your hands on the wheel, please? I am not going in the car with anybody who does that. I'm just not.
It's true.
Did you talk about my friend who has a tic?
Oh no.
I have a friend I have a friend who has a tic from time to time.
She's not old. She's just a friend you've had for a long time.
She and I have been friends forever. And she sometimes, her head goes like this. And one time we were driving and I said, it was snowing out in Boston. And I said to her, wait a minute, pull the car over. You are ticking and you can't see the road and it's snowing out. I said, I will drive. So it was just like, anyway, that to me, safety first, that is a boundary that I have.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. This has been a really good conversation, and we don't want to beat the subject to death, but let me not say but, we don't want to beat the subject to death, and we want to give you some tools that you can use in your relationship and also, in life. And so the tools really, if we can go back over them again, is number one is know when a boundary's been crossed. How do you feel in your body? Can you relate that to, rather than just getting angry, can you relate it to a boundary that you need to communicate and haven't done yet? And so that's the first thing. The second tool is, how do you express a boundary? Like, how do you say to somebody in the moment, oh, hold on, I feel like I just got a boundary crossed here. And then take some time and think about what it is that boundary crossed, and then figure out a way to articulate it. And it might take time. You might say, listen, I need to revisit this because I need to go deal with my emotions around it. But I think a boundary's been crossed and I want to talk to you about it later. And Laurie actually did that with me the other day. She said, okay, I need to talk to you about something later. And she had to go do emotional release or something else around that. So the second thing is...
That's a different topic.
It's a totally different topic. We'll talk about that some other time. But so the second tool here is to really get the boundary clear in your own mind. And again, you may have to take time away, or if you're okay in that moment, to communicate it, share what your boundary is, and do it in a way where it's not attacking, right? So use nonviolent communication,
which we didn't write that book.
We didn't write that book. We use it. It's a great technology, but nonviolent communication.
If you don't know what it is, get the book.
Yep.
You can get it on Audible,
and you can also go on YouTube and YouTube nonviolent communication. It's a great place.
Or NVC.
To find anything. NVC. So that's the second thing. And then the third and final thing is make a request. Make a request around your
it's not the final thing. Apologize.
Okay, thank you. Next to final thing, and that's not even the final thing. The next to final thing, the third thing, let's call it that. The third thing is to make a request. To make a request about what it is that you want. Not necessarily what you don't want, but what you want. Here's what I want out of this. And then you can also request an apology. That's valid. Hey, I'd really like you to apologize for that. And that person could then say, okay, I apologize. I'm sorry. And then finally, the last thing is offer forgiveness. Forgiveness is powerful. It cleanses you. It helps the other person and frees them, but it really frees you. Mm-hmm. So when they say they're sorry and they apologize for what it is that they did, offer forgiveness. I forgive you. And tell them, I forgive you and I love you. And return to love. And the goal here is all of this, the 5 things we just mentioned, is to help you return to love.
You know, when we wrote that chapter, we didn't put all that in, Car. I'm just letting you know, like, there's been more things developed about boundaries since we wrote. That's why we're in a new venture now called Sex and Happiness Over 60.
Oh, and Karen, we might want to talk to you about helping us with Extraordinary Lovers book.
Right, we're writing Extraordinary Lovers book too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a few projects going on. Yeah.
I hope you'd be interested in helping us.
Anyway, this stuff is really so important. This is like really the business of life. Yeah, you always forgive because you never know what tomorrow might bring. I have a feeling this is Carezza.
Yeah, Carezza says
Carezza's so wise.
If a person doesn't honor your boundaries, then they are not worth it. You are worth more than that. All boundaries must be respected and honored. Yeah, and always forgive, as you never know what tomorrow may bring. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's
Thank
so
you.
important. It really, really is important. So, anyway, we didn't actually take a break today. Are we taking a break?
Well, no, we're actually going to lead out of this. We do want to share a couple of things that's going on.
Okay.
Before we go. A lot of this that you just experienced us sharing with you today is actually we go even deeper in our program, the Extraordinary Lovers Experience. We are doing a new Extraordinary Lovers Experience February 13th and 14th. It's a weekend. And
that's our online experience.
That's our online experience. And we've expanded it a little bit because we've discovered that one of the things that have been missing in the weekend immersive is the ability to turn it into a practice and to really create something from it. So what we did was we said, okay, well, let's find out what people really need or what they really want even in a program like that. And so we discovered that a weekend anchoring the information and then followed up by 4 calls where we get together as a group call and we actually go deeper into the things that we talked about during the weekend. And so it's called Extraordinary Lovers Experience, and it's 2.0.
And it's for Valentine's Day, February 13th and 14th.
Yep.
Plus, for people who want to really go deep with us, we're going away. As some of you know, we're taking you to Honduras. So if you are with a partner and you would like to come to Honduras with us, we're going to do a deep dive into Extraordinary Lovers and the practices of extraordinary love in Roatan, Honduras, in April and the beginning of May. I think it's April 26th it starts?
April 17th through the 23rd. It's 6 days.
Don't listen to me.
It's 7 days. It's 7 days, 6 nights.
Yeah, in Honduras. And we're going to show you the commercial for that in a moment. In case you'd like to go away with us.
We would love to have you.
And with John and Kylie Judge,
yes,
who are our organizers, and they're also Kylie's going to be teaching yoga every morning, right. And they are awesome people from Canada.
Yeah,
we adore them.
They're such a good Well, they're also from the Ista family, and they're good.
Yeah, they're from our Ista family.
John is such a good brother. I love him so much, and I have a little treat for you. I just found this out yesterday that John and Kylie will be on next week.
They're going to be on the show
with us, and we're going to be talking about this spacious, amazing place in Honduras, and it's an island. It's its own island. It's a gorgeous.
Okay,
location.
So here's the heads up. So next week, are we on the same time?
Same time.
Because we talked about changing the time, but we're not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
So same time, same station. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking with John and Kylie Judge, who will be our co-creators mm-hmm. of the Honduras experience. If you or anyone you know is in a partnership, mm-hmm. a couple, we don't care if it's same-sex couple, we don't care if it's hetero, we really don't care. Your configuration. We don't even care if you're in a threesome and you want to come with 3. But we're going to be doing this retreat. And we would love for you to come and meet them on next week's Extraordinary Lovers TV with us.
Yep.
I mean, what an awesome opportunity to meet. They're the sweetest. They're really the sweetest.
They really are.
They're into sustainable. I'm going to tell you some of their values. First of all, John is a fireman, so you know that he's into life.
Yep.
He's into rescuing human beings and dogs and cats and whatever. He's a fireman in Canada, and he's also into sustainable earth. Mm-hmm. So everywhere that he does retreats, that he's part of a retreat, he asks for donations and then plants trees. So he plants trees in Costa Rica currently.
He's there now.
And he plans to plant trees in Honduras after we're done there. He wants us to fulfill on replacing our carbon footprint from all the flights that we took to the retreat place so that we can replace that with live trees. So that's what he's about. He's married to amazing Kylie, who's adorable.
Yep.
And she's a yoga teacher. And she will be taking people through beautiful yoga practices, gentle yoga practices in the morning.
That'll be our morning movement. And and we have so much already planned for you. I'll be working with the men one-on-one to learn some really incredible techniques and train in the art of presence. Really diving deep into how to be a present man, how to be a masculine man, and allow that masculinity to show up as a shaman. Laurie is going to be teaching women on the aspects of femininity and the seductress, and so that seduction as a team sport becomes something that's a lot of fun to do. And we've got a lot of other things that we're putting together for you, and we've thought of, and we're so excited. We can't wait to see you in Roatan.
And if you can't come to Roatan, see if you can make it Valentine's Day weekend.
Yeah,
that does also require a partner. I'm just going to say, it doesn't have to be somebody that you've made a commitment to, but it could be a lover who wants to become better at being with you. So that's what we're doing on Valentine's Day weekend.
And you need a partner for the exercises that we do require partners.
Yeah, they do. You can't do them without somebody. About it, So that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Too.
Links are in the chat. Is there any other questions that the chat might have for us before we go? We would love to hear you. We'd love to answer those questions for you. Thank you so much for all your comments, for your participation. Please share this show. This is a live stream for lovers. And next week we're going to have a whole new set of topics that we're going to talk about, as well as hanging out with John and Kylie. So we're looking forward to that.
That was a nice surprise for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just found out about it yesterday. I didn't mention it to you last night.
That's so great.
Yeah.
They're going to stream in from Costa Rica.
They are. Yeah.
That'll be our second guest from Costa Rica.
Yep, they're coming in from Jaco.
From Jaco, that's great. We had Christopher Lovestone he was in Costa Rica also when he was on our show.
That's right. Well, Careza says, do you know of any conscious singles groups?
I don't know of any offhand. There's Conscious Connections, who's primarily single on Facebook, and the organizers of that are Bella Crystal with a K. You can go to Conscious Connections on Facebook or Instagram, and Bella Crystal and Anna. What's Anna's last name?
I don't know Anna's last name.
Okay, but they have a Conscious Singles group. On Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and if you are not on...
what about Sacred Sexuality Rising?
Oh, yeah, Sacred Sexuality.
Also, Sacred Sexuality Rising. Brianna Krabayer is not only my partner in teaching, she's also my ISTA apprentice, and she's fabulous. And so that would be another good place to hook up with singles.
And one last place that I want to mention is Extraordinary Lovers. Extraordinary Lovers group, Facebook group, is not just for couples. It's for anybody that wants to be extraordinary in their lovemaking and in the way that they love another.
Awesome.
So we do have a lot of singles. Well, Satya, who's a gorgeous man, is single.
I know.
We've got Raja and Mitch and a number of other people that are on there. So, yeah, you could definitely meet some people there.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, hi, Christine. Welcome.
Oh, we're just getting ready to go off, Chris.
That's okay. Yeah, definitely watch the recording. It'll be up on Facebook. Or I'm sorry, it'll be up on YouTube here in the next couple hours, and I'll make sure that it goes on Facebook. But
next week, definitely watch next week, because you just missed me saying that Michael saying that we're having John and Kylie on with us. Oh,
Yes,
okay. So next week we'll be doing, we'll be talking about Roatan in detail.
We've got a lot of pictures that are going to go up with us. I've got all that worked out. But for now, what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and run the video for us. So as we go out, thank you everybody for joining us today. We really love you. We appreciate you, and we ask that you share this live stream for lovers with your friends and family. If you got anything out of it, really thank you for the support.
And we're going to now go deal with the plumber and talk about masculine and feminine parts.
Exactly.
That fit together.
You crack me up, baby.
Yeah.
So funny.
Who's this? Oh, this is Nina. Nina, bye.
Bye, Nina.
By the way, both of these women that we're talking about, both Anna and Bella, they're both Swedish.
Yeah.
No, they're not in Sweden.
No.
But they're of Swedish descent. Mm-hmm. Bella is half Spanish and half Swedish, and she now lives in Miami. And Anna is Swedish, and she lives in Amsterdam.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, the people from the Conscious Connections group.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. We love you. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel. And my request of you is be extraordinary.
Yes, be extraordinary. Bye, Car. Love you. Bye, everybody. Love you so much, and thank you for tuning in. So great.
Bye-bye, everybody.
It's time to feel alive again. Extraordinary Lovers Luxury Couples Retreat is designed to ignite your sexuality, communication, and ease with your partner, all while enjoying the bounties of paradise. Join world-class Tantra teachers Laurie Handlers and Michael Gibson as they share how to access new levels of ease, trust, and intimacy. Drink in the gorgeous oceans and beaches of Roatan's most luxury private resort. This small by design retreat will not only make you feel safe to explore with your partner, but also find true depth and connection with other couples in attendance. This retreat includes 7 days and 6 nights of accommodations, all your meals included, and full days of transformational processes and teachings, all situated on a picturesque, clothing-optional beach and forest. Book now to reserve your spot in Roatan with us.